I haven't seen a car go through a tree in a long time. Usually the tree wins.
That was a champion moment for my mind. That's as big a crash as I've seen in a rally car in a long time.
If he has another win on his next event, that's job done, isn't it? Hello and welcome to the Motorsport Files. If you're new to us, welcome along. We are one big happy family. So please, if you've got any comments to make, please do have a look at our socials. And you can find us at TMF Pod on most platforms. Or you could check out the website at www.themotorsportfiles.com. Right, so we are here finally to discuss a bit of rallying. It's been so long, too long, actually. So it's nice to be able to welcome Chris back. Chris Gilbertson, how are you, mate?
I am fantastic. It was Rally Finland this weekend. Is there anything better than that?
I don't think so. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's definitely the jewel in the crown. And this weekend, we got to see exactly why. And it was a special one as well. So it was the 75th anniversary, which is a bit of a special date in their diary. And Elfyn Evans led Taka Katsuta by 25 points coming into this. And as we're about to discuss, he kind of nearly needed that. But with 66% brand new stages or new running of stages, it also posed a new challenge for the drivers as well. Not least for Sami Pajari coming through to get his second win on the bounce. And the 200th, this is another great start, the 200th finished win. What an amazing result for him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think everyone just wanted to see, could he carry on the momentum from Estonia? He took a real leap in Estonia. He's been very consistent all year with a string of podiums and taking that leap to being rapid and winning on his own merit, not just because other people, crashed or had incidents in front of him. And in Estonia, he was the class of the field. Yeah. And just that consistency here. Okay, we'll talk about the crashes and the accidents that did impact the running order here. But Sami Pajari is a title contender now. I don't think there's any way you can look at him and say that he hasn't taken that step forward. So yeah, fantastic effort.
Absolutely. I mean, he took his time. He's been with the team quite a while now, and he's taken his time to build his confidence, learn his rally craft, I suppose, and just get himself to the point where he can take that step that up into the top echelons. But he's there. I mean, since Estonia, he does not seem to have looked back. He was setting fastest stage times, consistent performance, and as you said, he's reaped the rewards of others' misfortune to go through and win the rally. I think he did a great event and he's now a real threat. Now, I did think Katsuta would do the same thing because already this year, he's obviously already got his first 2 wins under his belt as well, but his performance seems to have waned off a little bit. But Pajari is right there in the fight now. But yeah, he started in a strong position, and Elfyn Evans, who previously, actually, I wanted to ask you about Elfyn. So in previous years, Elfyn has had terrible Fridays. He's never really got on the pace. And I started this year and the show by not really backing him on a Friday. And lo and behold, he then went and proved me wrong and started smashing out really, really good Fridays. What's your view on Evans?
I got to be honest, before the start of the season, wasn't sure how Elfyn was going to get on, but he's coped with opening the roads. Because last year, I think, frankly, I think the biggest reason he didn't close the title out last year was the fact that because he led for most of the season, his road position on Fridays, especially in some of these loose surface rallies, meant he had the detrimental road position. He was effectively cleaning for Ogier all year last year, and it just meant that he couldn't do it. And I think this year he's really worked on that. He seems to have put a lot of effort in to get into grips with the conditions. He's been and done rallies outside of the WRC to try and get some extra experience. He did a rally in Estonia the week before Estonia. He did the Arctic rally earlier in the year before Rally Sweden. He's really put in every effort in, I think, this year. And on Friday, I think the advantage for Rally Finland is the road surface wasn't quite as loose as Estonia. So there wasn't so much cleaning going on. But that consistency of pace on a Friday in particular, when he's opening the roads, he's managed that better this year than he did last year. And I think he's taking a more, I think he's less tightly wound this year as well. If you just look at the way, in interviews beforehand, stop line interviews, I think last year, because he was so close to the title last year, he looked so, I don't know, everything was either going for him or against him. And it just didn't seem to me that he had the confidence in his own abilities to take it. Whereas this year, I think it's his title to lose now. And what do you think?
No, I agree. The major difference, let's compare him to Seb. Seb used to pretty much always lead the rallies going into a new rally because he was always leading. But the difference he made was being there or thereabouts at the end of Friday, maximizing what road position he had, been first on the road, but maximizing the conditions and managing the risk of being first on the road. And I now think that's exactly what Elfyn is doing on a Friday. And that's what's making the difference to his championship, because it has that knock-on effect. He's in a better place at the end of Friday, which means his road position on Saturday is that much better. And he can just springboard from there. And that's what's made the difference to him this year.
Yeah, I think he looks different to me this year, and he's just driving. So, but he also had a massive slice of luck. I guess while we're talking about Elfyn, being able to roll the car on Saturday, get back going, funnily enough, with his dad Gwyndaf in the crowd at the exact place where he rolled.
Yeah.
And then getting back going, he went from second to fifth after that stage, but then got himself back up to third. That was a champion moment for my mind.
Yeah, I thought he was going to totally ruin it when he went forwards. To be fair to him, he couldn't see the ditch and he was flustered. But driving forwards after landing on all four wheels was, it was a bit funny. That wasn't the first thing that he did, though. He actually had a bit of a moment earlier on. I think it was back end of Friday, where he went slightly off into the bushes, got away with it. Didn't really do any damage, but he was always on the limit, as they all were, to be fair. But yeah, he got lucky. End of 17, I believe it was. Let me just double check that. Or was it earlier? No, end of 14, sorry. SS14, he just lost the back end into the ditch and it just pitched him over. He got so lucky that he didn't rip a wheel off. And I've got to say, big round of applause to every single one of those fans that jumped on that car to get it out of the ditch, because that was a proper Herculean effort. And that just shows one of the best things about rallying, the fans getting involved in the action and allowing Elfyn to continue. So well done to each and every one of you, any of you are listening.
The Finnish fans all weekend, every time anyone went off, they were jumping towards the cars, tow ropes in hand, ready to get going. I just thought those Finnish fans deserve, such a shout out. We've seen some rallies this year where the fans have been, in the wrong places or not quite been as cooperative. But this rally just brilliant. But I guess that, talking about Evans, he rolled because he was just pushing. He took too much speed into the corner, and I think that goes down to how well Seb Ogier was driving. I think if we talk about Seb, and obviously it was Julien Ingrassia in the car with him this year, first time in 5 years Julien's been in the car.
Yeah, that was cool.
And, Seb was lighting up the timesheets on Friday and Saturday until his incident. What did you make of Seb's performance?
He's a champion and he knows what he's doing. I love the way that he can choose to back off on certain stages and then know exactly when and where to push. But as a performance, despite the off, again, it's just another championship driver. And it's only really now that I think Evans has truly entered that same bracket. So yeah, absolutely. I was going to say up to that point, at least flawless. Big respect to the man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, he's the only driver who, for me, looks totally in control of a Rally 1 car. And obviously even here, that just goes to show about Rally Finland. Such a fast rally, and it just highlights how difficult these Rally 1 cars are to drive. I mean, there's only 4 rallies left of the Rally 1 car era, and we've got to enjoy them because these cars are spectacular. But you saw with the number of accidents this weekend that they are very hard to drive.
Yeah, but they're also incredibly strong, which is something that is going forward. Yes, we're losing Rally 1 at the end of the year, but we are keeping that space frame central technology, thank God. Because this weekend, they needed it. They all needed it. The amount of offs that we saw was insane. There were so many. And it started actually with John Armstrong on SS3. Thankfully, not a big one. He just caught the nose and it spun him round. It was definitely great to see the Rally 1s out again doing what they do best.
Absolutely. And a rally like this one just highlighting how great they are for spectators to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, the action all weekend. I mean, so we had John go off on Friday and he was followed not long after by Esapekka Lappi. You know, you talk about space frames doing their job, but is that the last we see of Lappi in Rally 1?
I think it is. I think I've heard that is his last one. And it's a decision that I'm not fully understanding, because as we've seen many times, you need seat time in these cars. We've just already said how difficult they are to drive. It's seat time that's the key. So sticking a driver in for 1 or 2 rallies just isn't long enough. If they were going to go with the 3 part-time drivers this year, why not split the season into 3 and let them have 3-4 events on the bounce so they can find their feet and maybe get some sort of half-decent result? I really feel for Lappi because he was actually in a really good place. Unlike Estonia, where he thought he was doing well but wasn't setting the great lap times, he had somewhere to go and was setting really good pace up until his accident, and I thought he was going to be a contender. Unfortunately, he bent the car big time, bent the cage, end of rally. But I like seeing Lappi out on the stages. They're such a good pairing, and I do hope that we will see them again, if not at some point this year, certainly for next year, depending on what happens.
Yeah, I really hope we see Annie Malkinen continue in the top line. I mean, she was very harshly treated when she left Sami at the end of his Rally 2 career. Obviously, Sami wanted someone with more experience in the car next to him, and it's taken a bit of time, but, you know, Marko Salminen's a fantastic co-driver as well, and those results are coming for them. But I really hope we see EP and Annie again, because they're a fantastic pair. But after his crash at the weekend, I'm not sure EP's heart's in it now. You know, we've had confirmation that Hayden Paddon is going to be in the car for the next rally. I think that's Paraguay next. Yeah. And, you know, Danny Sordo would also traditionally do some of those sort of rallies as well. So I'm just not sure we're going to see him. It's a shame.
I don't. And Danny Sordo and Hayden Paddon are due to fulfill the rest of their allotment of events anyway this year. So I don't think it's a decision against EP. I do want to see Annie back on, because you're right, she was treated a little bit harshly, and her enthusiasm is just the essence of rallying. She enjoys every single stage, and I wish most of them, or the rest of them, showed that a bit more. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were getting movie quotes and references from Adrien Fourmaux. Where's that gone? He's got very, very serious. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's fast and he's a bloody quick driver and he's doing really well, but I miss that jovial side of him. That was part of his character that I'm sure a load of fans enjoyed watching, and we do seem to have lost that a little bit.
I think for Adrien, though, it's a tough time, because he's seen Taka Katsuta get his maiden win this year. He's seen Sami Pajari get his maiden win. And Fourmaux, who's stuck in that hard-to-drive Hyundai, is despite being a fantastic driver in his own right, he's falling a little bit behind his peers. And I get the impression the pressure's building up in Adrian's own mind, not necessarily from Hyundai, because, you know, it's not like Thierry Neuville's doing much better. No. And, you know, Fourmaux is driving well, but it seems to me that that car is on the limit 100% of the time. And it just takes one moment in a rally, and that Hyundai is done. And, we saw it with Thierry this weekend, and Adrien suffered with the rain on Friday afternoon. Yeah. And, I just think Adrien is, he's only got 4 more rallies this year to get a rally win. And I'm not sure it's coming, despite, I have every belief in him as a driver, but I just think it's the right driver in the wrong car at the moment. And I think the pressure's getting to him.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. He has come on leaps and bounds as a driver. And even in his first year at Hyundai, when he was partnered with Neville and Tanak, there were times where he wasn't the third driver. He was well up there. He was consistent. He was quick. And possibly more importantly, he wasn't going off like the other two did. Now, maybe it was because they were pushing for a championship and he suppose wasn't at that point. But he certainly proved his mettle, and he was more than a match for his teammates at that point. He's obviously now official second number 1 driver. Now Tanak's gone. So he's always scoring championship points, but he's pretty much always consistent. Barring a mechanical fault or something outside of his control, it's not very often he puts a foot wrong. I think his win is coming, but I agree, I don't think it's this year. And we've got to remember as well how long Taka and Sami waited for their first wins. I know they've both got them this year, but they've been in that team for a hell of a long time before they got anything. So it's certainly not the end of the world for Adrien. I think he's got it coming, and we'll just have to wait and see what Hyundai does and any other teams that come in later on. I'm assuming he's going to stick with Hyundai, but we just don't know.
I guess that's so many questions about what's happening with, WRC 27 and what Hyundai do. We know Toyota are developing a car for next year, but Hyundai say they're not. So it's, what happens there, I don't know. But I feel for Adrien because he's a fantastic driver. I've got every confidence in him as being one of the elite rally drivers. And I think his success will come. It's just about finding himself in the right place at the right time. And, that's it. Taka, as you say, had to grind out for his wins. Whereas Sami, I think Sami's got I put Sami as an elite driver in making. But I would put Adrien on that tier as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you not think Sami's had to put the work in as well and grind that through? Or do you just not?
Well, I think Sami has, but Sami won Rally 2 in 2024. So this is only Sami's second year in Toyota. Obviously he's done every rally there, but I think he's developed at a nice pace. I think with Sami, you can see a bit of consistent growth. I think, that first year in Rally 1, he was tasked with, holding back a little bit to get the experience. There was no point of him charging off to get, and going off the road. And I think he's built he's built over that first year in Rally 1 and then come in really solidly, attacking this year with a bit more verve, so to speak. And then, he's got the green light to start pushing. Whereas I think Taka, I'll admit, I'm not sure I necessarily see Taka's growth as having been linear. I think Taka's career path is sort of, I know, he was very close to getting dropped by Toyota at one point, if reports were correct. And, if anything, he was down to, a couple of rallies to save his future at one point last year. So I think, and then he sort of come back this year and, he won those rallies, a bit of a war of attrition. Kenya was just, he was the last man standing in Kenya. I'm not necessarily convinced he's won either of his rallies on pure pace yet, which might be a bit harsh because he definitely is quick, but I also see Taka as being a bit wild. You look at how far he flies over the jumps. He's got a heavy right foot, which is excellent. But I see Sami on a slightly different plane. I think Sami's a future potential champion, and I'm just not sure I see Taka at quite that level.
Fair enough. They've definitely had a different approach. They've had a different journey to get to their first wins. And I suppose, you're right. To be fair though, Taka's always been good on Safari. And it is about surviving, and he survived. So I don't want to take too much away, but you're right. No, you are right. It was a war of attrition, that rally. And part of that result was all of the people just not surviving. That's part of the game. That's part of rallying.
I have always said that you don't win rallies by accident.
Yeah.
You know, that if you're the last man standing, you deserve to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that Safari, and to be fair, Taka, you know, he was so unlucky not to win the Safari Rally in 25, you know, when he was right at the end.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think everyone was over the moon to see him win. And he's proving that he's a Rally 1 driver. You know, I think his performances this year away from his wins have been good. I mean, he and Aaron are a great team, and you know, they deserve their place. There's no talk of them not being top class drivers for Toyota anymore. He's put that talk to bed, which is fantastic.
And I suppose he kind of inherited it from Neuville, didn't he, in the one after? But I mean, he was there to pick it up, much like Sami was this time round. So
absolutely. And I think with Sami, what was impressive, particularly about Estonia, was he won Estonia on pure pace. He didn't win Estonia because it was a war of attrition or other people crashed out in front of him. He was the fastest driver in Estonia and deserved that. You know, this one, slightly different. Sebastien was the driver on form this weekend prior to his incident and was driving that car out of its skin. Sami was there consistently behind him, but Seb was the class this weekend until his accident.
Yeah. And again, he made the best of Fourmaux and his incident as well to move him up to second. But it was that consistency of keeping out of trouble. That's what you've got to do. I mean, it is a sad cliche, but to finish first you got finish. And that's exactly what he did. It's a cliche for a reason. But yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, to be fair. And he kind of did what Solberg had done in Estonia the year before. Yeah. Just the fastest and consistent, and he absolutely deserved it. So I'm definitely not taking anything away from him. But yeah, I think his championship is potentially coming. Depending on what the championships look like in the future. I mean, we don't know how hard they're going to
absolutely. I still think, you know, we can get onto it towards later in the podcast, but that Elfyn is the favourite for the championship. But
absolutely, yeah.
But actually, you mentioned Oliver Solberg there. It was an interesting weekend for Oliver because, you know, very much overshadowed the last fortnight by Pajari, but he actually ended up taking 26 points, just one less than Pajari's 27 from this. I mean, Oliver is becoming a master of Super Sunday. And playing that to his advantage. So whereas Sami was very cautious to get the rally win on Sunday, Oliver ended up taking almost the same number of points, which I thought was worth a mention because you know, you could have easily been forgiven for not really mentioning Oliver this weekend. He sort of hung around there in the mid-pack and ended up getting a great result.
I think it was a smart drive, to be fair. He started the year off in fairy tale form. And I think that has put undue pressure on him, whether it's from the team, the people around him, or just in his own mind. Getting those wins early on in the fashion that he did, I think was too much too soon. It was great to see, but I think it did his confidence in when he did push that hard and then went off a few times. So to see him do a measured drive over the past couple of rallies, I think it's a smart move. Build your confidence back up and then be there or thereabouts, or maybe fight for the win on the rallies that you're comfortable on. I don't think he necessarily needs to be all singing, all dancing in the headlines. I think if he just does what he did in Finland, he's not going to be too far off. Where is he now in the championship? Should we have a look? Can't remember. So Oliver Solberg's currently fourth. 4 points behind Katsuta.
Yeah, and I would say if any of the drivers outside of Sami and Elfyn, I think Oliver's the only one that could still put himself back in the title fight. I don't think he will, but he's one of those few drivers I think that's genuinely capable of coming out and getting a great result anywhere. But I agree entirely with what you said. I think, you know, if you combine his Estonia win with his Monte Carlo win, he was given permission to push, you know, whereas we were talking about a minute ago, how Sami, you know, didn't push for his first year in Rally 1. I think Oliver's come in this year, you know, just having set pulses racing with that Estonia win last year. And I think just went a bit too fast. And you've seen with, the incidents he's had throughout this season have all just been a bit rash. And I think that slowing down and, this driver, as you said, real maturity and, I think everyone would agree that Oliver's a future champion.
Definitely.
And I think we're seeing his maturity coming over the course of this year. And absolutely, I definitely think, we'll be seeing him on the top step before too long again.
You're right with the maturity point. His driving has been a bit Vatanen, Colin McRae-esque in as much as it's either a win or a bust. But the major difference is how quickly he's gone from that to driving maturely with a calculated approach. With those other drivers, and there's been a few of them, that progression has taken some time. But with Oliver, he's already pulling it back, reining it in a little bit, and just driving to either himself or the conditions. And he's reaping the rewards of that. I definitely think he will be champion at some point very, very soon. In reality, as much of a story as it would be for him to get it this year, it's just not on the cards, is it? I think you're right, Elfyn. It's his to lose, as you said. But it's there. It's coming, and I don't think it's going to be too long. Neuville also had one that, to be fair, by Sunday I'd almost forgotten about. But Neuville ripped the front corner off his car as well. I thought that was potentially rally ending for him, but he got that back.
No, he did, but that's a sort of emblematic of how his year's been going. I think it's just not been his year, and I think we talked about it with Adrien earlier. That Hyundai, it doesn't take a lot to do a lot of damage to that Hyundai. And, I think that was just the case for Thierry.
Yeah, I was going to mention it earlier, actually. That Hyundai seems to be great on dry, smooth gravel, but any deviation from that and all of a sudden the performance just drains away. There is no setup that we're aware of for any sort of tarmac, and seemingly wet tarmac as well, wet gravel as well. It doesn't seem to do very well on either. It's got to be concerning for a team such as Hyundai not to have that window of performance in anything but dry gravel. And it doesn't seem like there's anything that they can do to fix that. With 4 events to go, it's not going to happen now. They're obviously concentrating on their Rally 2 car for next year. But I'm just surprised that they never got on top of it.
Yeah, their heart didn't seem in it as a team this year. Before the season going in, there was all the talk about how the focus from Hyundai had switched to the Genesis WEC program. Yeah. And it sort of felt like that throughout the course of the season. I mean, and, you look at the rallies we've got to come, the South American swing with Chile and Paraguay, every chance we're going to get some wet gravel down there. That sort of clay that you get underground there it's just going to be very difficult for them. Okay, Sardinia might be a bit more regulation in September, but it's just not been the car for Hyundai now for 2 years, because it was the same. It was really hard to drive last year as well. So and how good a driver Thierry is, and this season is sort of petering out for him.
It is, although to be fair, I don't actually put Thierry in the same bracket as Evans and Ogier. I think he got his championship. This is harsh to say, but he got his championship because of what happened that year. It was Rovanperä leaving that opened the window for him. I mean, he had to earn it and he had to drive it, fair enough. But, all things being equal, I don't think he'd have got it last year without what happened.
I would love to have seen Thierry and Elfyn in the same car. If Thierry could have been in a Toyota these past 2 years, I would love to have seen the progression, because to my mind, Thierry got his title and has definitely regressed a bit. It feels like he got his title and all of a sudden going from the nearly man to the man who got what he wanted. He's taken that less consistent approach, and whereas Elfyn to me is consistently improved, and I think it's the mark of a really good driver that's constantly improving.
Absolutely, and it's body language and what he says. I mean, he's very forthcoming with his stage and interviews, but his approach is it's what he's saying rather than, and sometimes how he's saying it actually, he's citing this is wrong or that's wrong. Whereas the others are, I don't know, it's his approach. It's very difficult to put your finger on it, but he just seems to be making, for want of a better way of putting it, excuses.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I was desperately trying to find a different way of putting that.
No, I know.
But yeah.
I could see in the future, I mean, who knows what, we've talked already a couple of times about what the future looks like, but I could see a scenario where Thierry ends up running his own team as a sort of privateer outfit, a bit like how Oyt Tanak has created Red Grey out of Estonia. I could see something like that as a customer team for Thierry. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if his factory days are winding down. I could completely be wrong, obviously, but somewhere where he's got a bit more control over the output, I think might be a way he goes.
Well, you're not completely wrong, Chris, because he's already got his own team.
True.
He runs cross carts and a few other things for other people as well. Nothing official in rallying, but it's not that great a step. So with the WRC 27 regs coming in for tuners, it's an open door for him. So potentially, I think he's not going anywhere in terms of his factory drives. We're not going to see him in a Toyota or anything like that. No. He's going to end up his career at Hyundai, and then we'll have to see what he does from there on in. But yeah, he's just not at the same level as the others. And I feel for him because I really wanted him to get his championship. And I'm really glad and pleased for him that he did. But it was then or never. And whereas last year it was between him and Evans, and I thought it'd be really nice to see Elfyn a Brit get it for the first time. As we've seen, he's got other chances, whereas I don't think Neuville has.
Similarly, I think Elfyn's got to take his chance this year. I think, you look at we'll talk a bit about Rally 2 and, the likes of Robert Vervis coming through. I think what the picture's going to look like next year, it could open it up for a whole host of other drivers to potentially take rally victories, depending on what the cars look like. Is Toyota's car going to be the class of the field again next year? But Elfyn, I think, needs to lock down. He's got a 30-point lead now over Sami, and I think he's got to lock in for those last 4 rallies.
Yeah, no, he has to, and he has to seal it off this time rather than let it slip through his fingers at the last minute. But the difference this year is I think he can. I think he's in control of his championship, whereas in previous years, I just don't think he had. He was doing well, but I just don't think he had full control like Seb has done, like Oyt has done in previous years. This year, I think I see that in him, and I'm not nervous for Elfyn like I was nervous for Thierry. I think the way that he's driving, especially after he's off on SS11, 14, the way he then got it back on the road, got back to service, and then got himself back up the leaderboard shows the fight in him. And I'm pretty confident actually that he is going to seal it off. I hope I'm going to touch wood because I haven't kiboshed his entire championship by saying that, but no, I'm pretty confident. I mean, we did mention it earlier. We mentioned Safari earlier, and the way that the rains came and absolutely destroyed the event for them. I'm actually a really big fan of when the rains come like that. I love how it just shakes everything up. And we had that in Finland this year. I really wasn't expecting it, though, to have quite the effect that it did. Loads of accidents, and it got so slippy on very fast 4th, 5th gear corners. Nuts. Oh, absolutely nuts.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, you've got to give credit to all of those drivers because those conditions must have been about as hard as it comes.
Yeah, they were saying it was like ice. It's like driving on ice in those conditions. And I can't imagine, because they're also heavily cambered as well, which you don't really see on the footage. And you certainly can't feel it, obviously, like you can when you're driving. But it's knife edge driving, isn't it? It's dipping it into one, flicking it over the camber to the other, and in that situation where you suddenly have no grip, must be terrifying. And we saw some major accidents this time around. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. Amazing, actually. And kudos to the quality of the build of these cars now, because in previous years, that would have ended in fatalities, some of these.
I was just going to talk about some of the mega crashes. I think it was actually on Saturday, but down in Rally 2, one of the young French driver, Arthur Pellemorgues, if I don't know if you've seen his crash, but that's as big a crash as I've seen in a rally car in a long time. I mean, yeah, these conditions were tricky. I mean, in terms of the rain on Friday, it was probably slightly fortunate that Friday's route didn't include quite as many jumps as Saturday did. Yeah. I think it was much more airborne come Saturday. But yeah, I think the leaderboard overnight on Friday just went to show, the cream rose to the top, I think, in those conditions.
Yeah. But I mean, some of the accidents, I haven't seen a car go through a tree in a long time. Usually the tree wins. But we saw at least 2, maybe 3 accidents where the car literally went through the tree, felling it completely. That such was the magnitude of the accident.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw the damage on Lappi's car on Friday. I mean, you throw in the fact that there were rocks involved as well. You don't traditionally think of Finland as rocks as being the obstacle, but yeah, I don't remember, other than perhaps Saudi Arabia last year was tyres getting torn to shreds.
Yeah.
But I don't remember a recent times rally where, especially the Rally 1 drivers, Martin Sesks had an off on Saturday. We've already talked about all the others. It was just, half the field was upside down at one point.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. I mean, the rain obviously had a different effect as well with misted screens. Which it's such a stupid problem to have. I know it's based on weight and they're trying to save weight, but when you can't see, you're slow. So why not put a heated screen in? It's not going to be that heavy. And how the hell have Toyota designed a car and gone to that level of precise detail in every area of that car and left the air vent to suck up water like that? When we watching that onboard of Solberg open his air vent and just having a shower, how the hell has that been allowed to go through?
Oh, I don't know, but that's going to be an enduring image of this rally season, I think.
Yeah, and it was obviously just him. They were all at it. They were all having a nice shower in the car, but it can't be that difficult to engineer a solution to that problem, because that led on to the misted screens.
Well, there can't be anyone more proficient with a selfie stick than Aaron Johnston at this point.
Well, no, that's true. Although they did go into 1 or 2 stages without it, and for most of the stage couldn't see a damn thing.
I mean, it goes to show the importance of your pace notes and your co-driver, because can you imagine having to drive these Finnish stages blind? I mean, that's extraordinary.
The thing is, Taka was blind for most of that stage because the screen had misted up so completely. Yes, he had his pace notes. We couldn't see the road. How the hell he managed to see through that, I do not know. I really do not know, because it wasn't until the last sector, I think, where it started to clear and he actually could sit back in his seat and relax a little bit more. But this is such a stupid problem to have in a modern day rally car.
And it's not the first time. We've seen it elsewhere this season as well. And, with Toyota, it's bizarre because, their car is so much better than everyone else's. They could arguably grab a rock from the side of the road as ballast and still have a time advantage, So I'm surprised they haven't sorted out. Maybe for the 27 car, that's something that will be sorted out.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see what they look like. I just hope they don't carry it over, because it's ridiculous, really. All that money's spent and it gets ruined by the simplest of things, I guess. The rain had another effect. It came and it went. For Evans, for instance, he got through the first of those stages pretty unscathed and reaped the benefits of it. And obviously the middle was torrential But then towards the end, Martin Sesks actually set a pretty good time because the rain had stopped and it allowed him to push on a little bit more. How do you think Sesks did overall?
He's a funny one because he's had enough chances now that I would have liked to have seen a decent result out of Martins at some point, but he's showing great pace. I mean, he's consistently shown that he's the fastest of the M Sport drivers, which I would expect, to be fair, based on his pedigree. But I wonder at the end of the day whether Martins would have been better pursuing a full season WRC2 entry, getting the experience, because what he doesn't have at the moment is just consistent experience.
Yeah.
He's been there or thereabouts now, but only in the rallies that he gets a half program, a 7, 6, 7, 8 rally program for this year and last year. And he does the loose rallies, the loose surface rallies, doesn't get the tarmac experience. He's got ERC tarmac experience, obviously. Yeah. And I just would love to see a little bit more out of Martins. That might feel harsh, but it's like we were talking about with the Hyundai drivers earlier. Unless you're there every rally getting seat time in these Rally 1 cars, is it any wonder that, especially because he's fighting a balance of trying to appease sponsors, get more sponsors, try and build up a budget to do more rallying. And to do that, you need good results. So he's sort of stuck in a bit of a vicious cycle. He's a driver who deserves some factory backing from somewhere, I think, because all the time he's stuck in this sort of privateer cycle, it's going to be difficult for him.
It is. And there isn't really a huge amount of manufacturer backing anymore.
Just isn't there.
I think we're probably heading more towards like a British touring car environment rather than full factory backing, because I just don't think it's there.
Well, it'll be interesting. Obviously, we haven't spoken about the fact that this weekend the sale of the WRC promoter was confirmed, obviously. Absolutely, with Park Square Capital and Cosmopolis coming in. And there's a whole nother discussion we can have about where we think that's going to go. But one of the big things they're going to have to do is try and make the WRC relevant for manufacturers again.
Do you think?
I think so. I think they need to. And there was some talk. I heard some things. Eric Boulier was quoted as saying that they want to make it so that the WRC is a destination for manufacturers again. Because, but I don't know if they can. I don't know if that's possible. But I would love to see more manufacturer involvement back in, so that there was just genuinely more company support for it. Because if you're having to rely on privateers, like you mentioned the British touring cars, I'm not sure that's as sustainable for a championship that goes to such remote places as the WRC.
No, I agree. And it would be nice to see manufacturer backing come back to the WRC. And it's something I've spoken about quite a lot before on several different shows. But essentially, you see, it's like we've seen it in Formula One as well. We're kind of, as a motorsport, turning away from that manufacturer side of things. There have been quite a few examples of us trying the electric side and it just not working, not just with the WRC, but Formula One and touring cars and rallycross famously. And we do seem to be moving away from that now, more towards what the fans want, rather than what the manufacturers want. Because it's something I've heard with Eric Boulier is he wants to reinvent rallying from a promoter side. I'm cautiously optimistic about what's coming. I'm hoping that what they're going to do on the promoter side leads to an expansion of the WRC. Because first and foremost, from a manufacturer point of view, you need a shop front that isn't totally stonewalled behind a paywall.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. It needs to be a proper shop front window for manufacturers, rather than making this amazing product, which it is, and then hiding it behind this paywall. It needs to be shouted about again. We need to put it out there. And I think until that happens, there isn't a manufacturer in the land that's going to be interested in us. Because what do they get back out of it? The other thing is, and I've had this argument with somebody on socials recently, actually. You've got to look at the current landscape of manufacturers. It's gone are the days where we had Ford and Vauxhall, which I don't think we've got anymore. And, all these individual manufacturers, because most of them are under umbrella companies like Stellantis. And Stellantis aren't going to field two separate marques in the same series. So we've got a reduction in who can be involved anyway. So looking at tuners, I think, is a bloody good idea. And potentially, if you can get another M Sport on board, like Project One, for instance, I think we stand a better chance of going down that route, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of sense in that argument, to be honest. But it's just, I know, there's probably, we could do a whole episode, I think, on what we'd love to see the new promoter do and the direction of travel for 27. And perhaps we should over the winter. There'll be lots to talk about. But perhaps bringing us back to Finland. What it's probably, we do need to talk about Sebastien Ogier's incident over the weekend, and it's positive news that it sounds like he and Julien are okay.
They've put a post on their socials saying that they're fine, but they were just staying in overnight for precautions, just for observations, which I'm really pleased about, because again, that was one of the major ones we saw. I still don't understand the accident. It's not been helped by the fact that Rally TV have chosen not to show the stage on Rally TV on live replay. I've had to do a bit of searching online to find it. Thankfully, once I found out that they were okay. It's really strange, the lead up to it, and we've actually got a clip here. So the lead up to the accident, the change of direction for Seb was good. It was positive. It was exactly when he wanted it. But he went right, went left, went right. And then then he went left, but the car didn't turn right for the following right-hander. It just speared him off into the undergrowth through the trees. But at no point have I seen a stage level shot or an interior shot. So it's really difficult to see what actually went on. And so far, as of recording, it's the Monday after the rally today, I haven't so far seen any reason for why that car went off in the manner that it did, but it was a strange one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think until we get some onboard footage, it's going to be hard to know whether it really was driver or car. The only thing that you can really say is how well Seb was driving that car over the weekend. It seemed slightly out of place for him to make a mistake of that magnitude. But, it similarly, as we've seen, it doesn't take a lot in Finland, and you hit the wrong crest or whatever, and you can be over. But it was a strange one.
It was. I mean, it didn't even look like he tried to turn in for the following right-hander. And that's what's strange about it for me. If he'd have gone in too hot, for instance, and taken too much speed, but at least tried to turn the car and it slid off in that direction, that's fine. That was, it's understandable. But he turned into the left-hander beforehand and it just carried on in a straight line. It's so weird. The only shot we've got is a helicopter shot that we've just seen. And it's weird. I'm really wanting to see what happened there and figure out what happened, because I'm really curious. But Seb's accident actually formed, as it turned out, part of a bigger story over the weekend, one that we didn't really get to see on Rally Live, so I had to go again do a bit more digging. And it actually started earlier the day before on stage 11. Another driver who went off, Patrick Enoch, pretty similar actually. He was doing pretty well, lots of crests, lots of jumps, and it was the second jump in a sequence, and it just unsettled the car and he barrel rolled off into the trees. Thankfully, crew are okay. The thing with that, though, is that following him was WRC2 rally leader Robert Vervis at the time. He did stop to make sure that the crew were okay, because at that point there were no OK boards. And as a result, him and everybody who else that followed got nominal times given, which is fine. However, because of a quirk, that dropped Robert down from first to third. Now, I really did think that that was going to get adjusted so that it didn't affect the results, because unlike Formula One, for instance, where stewards' decisions quite often change the end result, we don't normally have that in rallying, and I'm a little surprised that that got left. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't want to see a change of position based on a nominal time. That's not the spirit of it. When you shouldn't be punished for doing the right thing, which is stopping to check that one of your fellow competitors is okay.
Absolutely.
I agree. But that the knock-on effect then was with Teemu Sunninen.
Yeah, exactly. Because a little bit later on the day after, when Seb went off in the manner that he did, at that point, I don't believe they'd got out of the car quite yet. So there weren't any OK boards being shown. So technically, yes, Timo should have stopped. This is where it gets a little funny, though, because apparently he got a message from the team to say everything was okay. And a little bit further down the stage, he was given what he referred to as a green light from the marshals. We don't really have green lights in rallying, so I'm not sure what he meant there, but some sort of okay to let him know that the stage was still open and he was good to go. So he didn't stop. And as a result, got a 30-second penalty, which dropped him from the lead, I think, down to, was it third, fourth?
I think he was, he still finished on the podium, I believe, in Rally 2.
So through Robert's pace, he managed to climb up and inherit the win again. So a weird way round of doing it. So Robert did actually get was that his fourth on the bounce? I think,
so in down in Rally 2, Robert, you obviously have to nominate 7 rallies in the season. Robert's done 4 and won all 4, including, and that includes the last 3. So he won. Yeah. He won Portugal. He won Estonia, his home rally, and has won here. And that's going to make him presumptive favourite for Rally 2 now, I think.
There's not a lot that's going to stop him, I think, now.
No, well, obviously Rupert Korhonen, the Finn, was probably his closest challenger, along with Teemu Sunninen. Korhonen season ended when he went off the road on Saturday. Yeah. And because I think it was going to be difficult for Korhonen anyway, because though he had a slender lead, he's now done 6 rallies this year rather than to Robert's 4. Sunninen's only done 4, but he's got budget questions over the rest of the season. So and if you think Vervis has de facto Skoda factory backing, being run by TalkSport, I think it's now, 4 wins from 4 is, you couldn't go any better.
Job done, basically, for him, isn't it? I think if he has a very good or another win on his next event, that's job done, isn't it? With Sunninen, yes, you're right. He's got these budget queries for the rest of the season, but he has been possibly the busiest rally driver all year. Between WRC2, ERC, which he's also done every round of, he's also done something else. I can't remember the name of the other championship that he's been involved with, but he's done rallies consistently all the way through. So he's not exactly short in terms of budget. And whether or not he chooses, I don't know whether he's got the choice, I suppose. Maybe he can shift the budget from one of the other series to compete and do the rest in WRC2.
I mean, if I'm Timo, I think I go and win the ERC this year.
Yes, I agree.
I think if you look at the cost it's going to take to get to, he would have to do 3 more WRC rounds to fight Robert for the title. And you just look at where those rallies are. You've got a very expensive swing down in South America. And then potentially Saudi Arabia as well. If I was Timo, he's shown his class this year. He's done, I think his job this year was to show his class coming back into a rally car after a break. He's done that. He's looked rapid all year in everything he's done. If he does the rest of the ERC season, I think he'll win the ERC title. So if I'm Timo, that's what I go and do.
Well, much like Robert Vervis in WRC2, Timo Sunninen's got it in the bag pretty much in the ERC. And the whole point was for him to rebuild himself, rebuild his career. I'm assuming with a view to getting back into the WRC. And after all the work that he's put in the ERC, it would be daft not to see that through and secure the title. And I agree with you. I think he's done enough this year in the WRC2 to say, hi, I'm back. And then come back potentially next year with the new set of regs in a car he's probably going to be very familiar in the Rally 2 car, and put in a real strong effort in WRC2 potentially next year.
And you look at the ERC, I mean, he's shown that maturity because the ERC is predominantly tarmac based, whereas obviously WRC now is exclusively gravel for the rest of the year. So Teemu's more than done enough to show his class this year. And his team with Jani Husi they're a fantastic team. You know, we talked about how, you know, we're fans of Ellie Malkinen. You know, the other top level female co-driver in the sport is Jani Husi, who's obviously done a lot of co-driving with Jari-Matti Latvala as well. And, you know, I would love to see her, you know, get a place in the WRC as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She's an absolute ambassador.
Yeah, I think so. I just wanted to give while we were just talking about WRC2, just a quick shout out to young Estonian Jasper Vaha, who is someone I've been talking about on my socials all year, because the 19-year-old has been lighting up the Finnish Rally Championship and has done some ERC stuff. And then now this was just his second WRC event, and he came fourth in WRC2, which was phenomenal. Yeah. And someone to watch. Absolutely there.
Yeah. It's nice to see that there are a handful of drivers coming through that we think are going to make it all the way through. So I think the future in terms of crews is looking very good indeed.
Yeah, it absolutely is. WRC2 has been a fantastic watch all year. And in a way, it's a shame now that Vervis has been so good, because it's sort of taking the fight out, you know, with the likes of Johan Roussel, Leo Roussel, you know, Alejandro Cachon. You know, there's some really good drivers down there, but Vervis has played his season so well that unless something dramatic happens, you know, he's got to go off the road and retire in several rallies for anyone else to even have a chance now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's done the business now.
It's been a fantastic season. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
No, not at all. And spread the word, because we need more people watching the sport. We need to get it to grow. And indeed, our show as well. If you've enjoyed it, this has been the Motorsport Files. And you can catch up with us on the socials at TMFpod23, or the website where we have episode guides galore and a myriad of other information as well that you can while away an afternoon on. And that's at www.themotorsportfiles.com. I think we're done, Chris. I think we've covered every single area of Finland, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. It was a fantastic rally, and it deserves every minute we gave it.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you, mate. We'll see you soon. See you on the next one.